Here is a strange thing about the people who raised you. They taught you to ride a bike, to drive, to file your first tax return, and yet you probably know almost nothing about their money. Not the will, not whether there is one, not where they keep the important papers, or what they would want if they ever could not tell you themselves. And the day you finally need to know all of that will be, almost certainly, the single worst day to start asking. Today is about having that conversation gently, early, and for the right reason, which is not their money. It is them. So let me be clear about what this is and what it is not. This is not a video about getting your inheritance sorted. It is about making sure the people who raised you are cared for exactly the way they would choose, and that you are never left guessing in a hospital hallway. We will look at why this talk feels so forbidden, what you actually need to know, which is far kinder than you think, the one cost almost no family plans for, how money quietly splits siblings, why their privacy comes first, always. And then I will hand you the exact opening words, gentle ones, with no numbers in them at all. Think about the shape of it. For your whole life, they were the ones who knew. They handled the bills you never saw, made the decisions, carried the worry so you did not have to. You were the child. And now, slowly, the roles are turning. And nobody rehearses that turn. There is no moment where someone hands you the manual and says, it is your turn to help carry this now. So the conversation that should happen calmly, over years, gets postponed and postponed until it happens in a crisis instead. The silence feels respectful. It is really just the turn we never practiced. And that silence has a price, though it stays invisible until the bill arrives. It looks like an adult child going through drawers in the dark, searching for a policy nobody can name. It looks like siblings arguing in a waiting room over what mom would have wanted, because none of them ever asked her. It looks like decisions made by strangers, a court, a hospital, a form, because the family never wrote anything down. None of that is about greed. It is about people who loved each other and simply never found a soft enough moment to speak. The cost of the silence is that the crisis writes the plan for you. Let us start with why this one is so uniquely hard, because naming that is half the battle. Almost every other money talk in this series is between equals. Partners, friends, siblings. This one is not. This one asks you to cross a line you were taught never to cross. You are the child asking the parent about their affairs. It can feel like a role reversal you have no right to make. Like you are stepping out of your place. For many of us, there is a quiet, almost superstitious fear underneath it too, that to ask about wills and end-of-life wishes is somehow to wish the end closer, as if saying the words out loud makes them true. So we say nothing, and we call it respect. There is another layer for the parents. For a proud, capable person who spent decades being the one in charge, being asked these questions can feel like being told, gently, that you are becoming fragile, that your child now sees you as someone to be managed. That is a hard thing to feel, and it is a completely understandable reason a parent might wave the whole subject away with, "Oh, we do not need to talk about that." So you have fear on one side and pride on the other, and between them, a locked door that both people are secretly relieved not to open. But here is the reframe that unlocks it. Avoiding the conversation does not protect anyone. It just guarantees that the hardest version of it happens later, at the worst possible time, with the least information, and usually with everyone exhausted and frightened. The kindest thing, the genuinely loving thing, is to have the easy version now, while it is calm, while there is time, while it can just be a talk between two people who care about each other. Naming the fear out loud is how you take the lock off the door. Now, the part that quietly relieves almost everyone, because people assume this conversation means demanding a full accounting of their parents' wealth. It does not. You do not need their net worth. You do not need their account balances. You do not need to know what anything is worth. That is not the point, and honestly, it is none of the things that will matter on the hard day. What you actually need is much smaller and much gentler. You need to know where things are and what they want. Think of it as one simple idea, the in-case file. Not a demand for numbers, just a place, real or imagined, where the answers live. Is there a will, and where is it kept? Is there someone they have named to make medical decisions if they cannot, and someone for financial ones? Where are the important documents? The deed, the insurance, the passwords that unlock a life that is now mostly online? Who are the people you would need to call? Their attorney, if they have one, their doctor, the person who does their taxes, and the softer questions, which matter just as much. What would they want if they were seriously ill? Do they have wishes about care, about where they would want to be, about the kind of send-off that would feel like them? None of that requires a single dollar figure. You are not auditing them. You are making sure that if the worst ever happens, their voice is still in the room, that the choices get made by them in advance, and not by a frightened family guessing under pressure. That is the whole assignment. Where things are and what they want. A parent can share all of that and never once tell you what they are worth. Keep it there, and you keep the conversation about care instead of money, which is exactly where it belongs. Now the hardest, most practical piece, and the one families avoid the most: long-term care. Here is the reality nobody puts on a greeting card. Most of us will need some kind of help as we age, help with daily life, in-home care, or a care home. And that help is one of the largest costs a family can face, often stretching over years, and it is the cost the least number of people have planned for. We insure our cars and our phones and never once think about the far likelier expense of needing care in our 80s, and when no one has planned, the weight does not vanish. It lands somewhere. It lands on the kids. It lands as money, and it lands as time. The adult daughter cutting back her hours, the son driving across the state every weekend, the savings quietly drained, the careers quietly paused. It happens to loving families all the time, and it happens hardest to the ones who never talked about it, because they are making enormous decisions in the middle of an emergency with no plan and no information. Now, I am not going to pretend there is a tidy financial fix here, and I want to be careful, because how you actually prepare for this, insurance, savings, the legal tools that exist, varies enormously by where you live and what your family's situation is. This is genuinely one to take to a professional, an estate attorney, or a financial planner who knows the rules where your parents are. What I am saying is simpler and comes before any of that. The conversation itself is the first act of planning. Just asking out loud, before anything is wrong, if you ever needed care, what would feel right to you, and how would you want us to handle it? Turns a future ambush into something a family can actually prepare for together. The cost nobody plans for becomes survivable the moment somebody finally names it. Let us talk about the part that ends up hurting people for years, brothers and sisters. If there is one thing that reliably fractures a family, it is money grief, the collision of raw loss and unspoken assumptions after a parent is gone. And the cruel thing is that it is almost never really about the money. It is about meaning. The dining table that one sibling sees as furniture and another sees as every childhood Sunday. The wound when a parent's love does not seem to have been divided exactly evenly. The sibling who did all the caregiving, quietly feeling no one else understands what they carried. When a parent has said nothing, every sibling fills the silence with their own story. And those stories almost never match. That is where the resentment grows, sometimes into rifts that outlast the grief by decades. Now here is the hopeful part, and it is genuinely hopeful. Almost all of that is preventable. And it is preventable with words spoken while everyone is still here. When a parent says, out loud, to all their children, "This is what I want, and this is why," the story stops being something each child has to invent. There is a version they all heard together. It does not have to be a formal reading. It can be a single afternoon where a parent explains their thinking, and the kids get to ask questions while the person who can answer them is still in the room. The families who do this do not avoid grief. Nobody avoids grief. But they grieve together instead of grieving at war with each other. Talking early is how you make sure that losing a parent does not also mean losing a brother or a sister. Now I need to steelman the parent who does not want to talk because they are not being difficult. They may be exactly right to be careful, and this point matters more than any other in the video. This conversation is about their wishes. It is not about your inheritance, and if it ever tips into the second thing, even slightly, even in your own head, you have lost the plot, and they will feel it instantly. A parent's money is theirs. They are allowed to spend all of it. They are allowed to give it away, to leave it to a cause, to change their mind, to keep parts of their life completely private. Privacy is not secrecy, and a parent who does not want to disclose every detail is not hiding something from you. They are being an adult with their own life, which is precisely what they have always been. Your job here is not to find out what you are getting. Your job is to make sure that what they want is known and honored, including sometimes their wish not to discuss certain things at all. That has to be okay too. So the tone of this entire talk has to come from care, not from calculation. You are not there to protect an asset. You are there to protect a person's voice, to make sure that on the day they can no longer speak for themselves, the decisions still sound like them. If you keep their dignity at the absolute center of it, their comfort, their control, their choices, the conversation stays warm and they stay safe in it. The second it becomes about what lands in your account, you have stopped honoring them and started managing them, and they will close the door, and they will be right to. Let me turn this around, because there is a beautiful side to it that almost nobody talks about. A parent who plans out loud is giving their children one of the last, greatest gifts they will ever give. Think about what they are actually doing. They are sparing their kids the frantic searching, the guilt of guessing, the arguments in the hospital hallway, the decisions made by strangers. When a parent sits their family down and says, "Here is where everything is, here is what I want, here is who to call, and here is why I have made the choices I have made," they are lifting an enormous, invisible weight off the people they love, before that weight ever has a chance to fall. And they are doing something even quieter and even bigger. They are showing their children how to face the hardest part of life with grace instead of denial. They are teaching, one last time, by example, the same way they taught you everything else, that the loving thing is to prepare, to speak plainly, to leave the people you love with clarity instead of chaos. That is a kind of parenting that does not stop at any age. So if your parent is willing to have this conversation, receive it as what it is. Not a morbid chore, but a profound act of love. And if you are the parent watching this, know that planning out loud is not giving up or inviting the end. It is the final, most generous form of taking care of your kids, and they will feel it for the rest of their lives. The families who do this remember it afterward as one of the most tender things they ever shared. So here are the actual words, because the whole point of this series is to hand you the opener that starts it without a fight. Do not lead with documents. Do not lead with the will. Lead with love and lead with them. Pick a calm, ordinary moment, a drive, the dishes, a quiet afternoon, never a holiday table with everyone watching. And try something close to this. You say, "Mom, Dad, I want to talk about something, and it comes from a good place, so hear me out. If anything ever happened to you, the only thing I would want is to handle it exactly the way you would want. Not my way, your way. And right now, I would not know how, and that scares me a little. So could you help me understand what you would want, where things are, who you would want me to call, so that if that day ever comes, I can honor you instead of guessing?" That is the whole opener. Notice what is not in it. No numbers, no net worth, no talk of inheritance. Just, I want to honor what you want. Can you help me know it? Then stop talking and let them lead. If they are not ready, you do not push. You say, that is okay, there is no rush, I just wanted you to know I am here whenever you are. You have opened the door. That is the win. And one honest note, because this matters. I am not a lawyer, and the actual legal and estate specifics vary a lot by where you live. So once the talk is open, the real documents belong with a qualified attorney. Your job is only to start the conversation with love. The professionals handle the paperwork. So let me ask you gently in the comments, have you had the file talk with your parents yet? Or is it still the one you keep meaning to have? No judgment here. Most of us have not. This is education and communication, not legal or financial advice. For the real documents, please see a professional who knows your family's situation. Next time, we turn to the money talk that quietly ends friendships. Never lend, only give. The loan between people who love each other that costs more than the money. I will see you there.